Hello, I'm Nann Dunne. Thank you for coming to my author reading. I've chosen an excerpt from the third and final book in my Hearts, Minds, Souls trilogy, titled The Peace Between the Souls. You can see the hearts are together in this one, finally. It's set in 1881. Characters in the scene include the main protagonist, Sarah Brent Coulter, her partner, Faith Pruitt, Sarah's mother, Cynthia, Sarah's daughter, Jessica, called Jessie, Sarah's sister-in-law, Lindsay, Sheriff Herman Schmidt, Deputy Fred Schillinger, and a rotten guy named Bert. It opens with Sarah in the sheriff's office during a town festival. Her family is at the bank. The door banged open. "Sheriff, the bank's being robbed!" Whoever shouted the message was gone as quickly as he came. Sarah bolted out the door. She touched her pistol to make sure her sheepskin jacket wasn't blocking her holster. Damn, 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 she thought. How could I be so complacent? If anything, I should have been more aware. Men ran toward the commotion as mothers hurried their children into stores for safety. Most of the women and older people cleared this boardwalk. As Sarah elbowed her way through the crowd, she saw a man standing in the bank's doorway with his gun trained on a woman. He hollered, "Everyone get back and throw your guns into the dirt or I shoot this woman. And I'll keep shooting people until you do what you're told. Drop them, now!" Sarah came to an abrupt halt in front of the men lining the street directly across from the bank. She got a clear view of the woman, and her heart almost pounded out of her chest. No, please, no, no, please God, no. While the robber was talking, Cynthia saw Sarah Brent show up at the front of the crowd. Cynthia shook her head no. Nobody moved. Nobody tossed out any weapons. "Too bad they don't seem to care about you," Bert said in a loud voice. Cynthia raised her chin. If she had to die, she would do it proudly. Bert lowered his arm from around her neck. She felt him move away from her. She barely heard the shot that hit her, and she went down in a heap. "Mother!" Sarah yelled. She started forward, but when a bullet hit the ground in front of her, she hesitated. The robber re-entered the bank, and she ran to her mother's side. The sheriff shouted, "Stay away from the bank, Sarah!" On crutches, with Fred Schillinger clearing a path for him, Herman Schmidt had gotten to the edge of the boardwalk behind her. She nodded in acquiescence. What could she do anyway? Nothing. Her mother lay there bleeding, her family was inside the building, and she was out here with no cover. She was completely powerless, and that reality angered and frustrated her. She struggled to pick up her mother, and Fred Schillinger ran over to help her. They placed Cynthia on the boardwalk, and Sarah knelt beside her. Fred pushed his hands against her mother's wound. The door opened again, and the same man held Jessie in front of him. "This one's next," he yelled. Sarah's heart compressed so hard, she thought it must be bleeding. Her mother lay on the boardwalk, maybe dying, and her daughter was being ready to join her. Sarah stood, drew her gun from its holster, and tossed it into the street. She heard rustling behind her as others moved forward. Their weapons raised dust from the street as they threw them down. "That's more like it," the man said. "Now stand back while we get on our horses and leave. I'm taking this gal with us in case you get any ideas." He motioned with his head, and the other robbers, carrying valises and a gunny sack, exited the bank and mounted their horses. They surrounded his horse while he pushed Jessie up on it and got into the saddle behind her. They rode out of town at full speed, and no one followed them. Faith and Lindsay came out of the bank and ran to kneel next to Cynthia. Faith tore a piece of material from Cynthia's gown. Fred moved away, and Faith used the cloth to stanch the bleeding. "Thank you, Fred," she said. Sarah fell to her knees beside them. "How is she?" Faith said, "She's alive. Other than that, I can't tell. The wound's bleeding profusely, and that's not good." Faith peered up with an incredulous expression. "She took my place, Sarah. She took my place." Sarah didn't understand what Faith meant. Her mind kept bursting back and forth, from her mother to Jessie and to Faith and back again to her mother. Faith visibly gathered her composure. "We'll get her to the doctor right away." She touched Sarah's hand. "We'll take care of her, Sarah. Please go after Jessie." Sarah stared at Faith, and an unspoken word of resolve passed between them. Lindsay was crying as she stroked Cynthia Coulter's arm. "Oh, Sarah, please do rescue Jessie." Sarah rose and patted Lindsay's shoulder. "I'll do my best. You and Faith concentrate on Mother." She turned to Herman, who had worked his way across the street toward her, with Fred at his side. Fred picked up Sarah's pistol from the dirt and handed it to her. "Thanks. Can I borrow a horse?" "Take Red Star," Herman said and pointed. "He's right there. I had him saddled this morning and tried to ride him, but I couldn't ride for any distance. You go on after them, and Fred will gather up a posse and follow you as soon as he can." Fred sprinted away to attend to that very act. "All right, and thanks." Redfire had sired Red Star, so Sarah knew she was getting a good animal. "I'll blaze a trail through the woods to make it easier for your posse." She turned to go. "Wait, Sarah." Herman grabbed her arm and took a badge from his pocket. "I want to deputize you." Sarah stared at him. "You might not want to do that." She shook her arm, but he held her tight. She could have yanked away from him, but she was loath to knock him off his crutches. "Dead or alive," Herman said. "I authorize you to bring him in, dead or alive." "I don't want to cause any trouble for you," Sarah said. "Sometimes the laws get in the way of what needs to be done." "Don't worry about that." Herman slipped the badge into the top front pocket of Sarah's sheepskin jacket. "Consider yourself deputized." He let go of her. "Now get out of here." Sarah ran for Herman's horse. She was relieved to see he had a rifle scabbard on the saddle and a canteen. She led Red Star to her wagon and grabbed her rifle and the extra ammunition from below the wagon seat. She considered the double-barreled shotgun, but decided to leave it. She stuck the rifle in the scabbard and the ammunition in her coat pockets. She always stashed some beef jerky in her pocket so food wouldn't be a problem. And she always carried the little packet with a lock of Faith's hair in it. That thought brought back memories of Litchfield, grinding the first packet she had beneath his heel. "I will kill the bastard this time," she vowed, her teeth clenched. She mounted the horse and glanced back. Her mother, Faith, and Lindsay were gone, and the crowd had dispersed. She kicked Red Star into a gallop and took off. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.